All-time low, 196.1. I have now lost a total of 36 pounds already since January 2nd. On January, I started at 233-ish. Now I'm about 196. The goal is to get to 190. And I might even shoot for 185 and just kind of reassess. But I'm telling you, it is worth it if you just hang in there with your diet, with your training, and most importantly, just being dedicated to those two things. I'm telling you, it's worth it. Just got back from the gym, had a great workout. And, speaking of working out, if you want me to film what my workouts actually look like, drop me a comment below and I'll go ahead and I'll film a workout for you. I love filming the workouts and just kind of showing exactly what it is I do in the gym to get into great shape. Now, as you saw in the beginning of the video, I'm at 196. I started this year at 233. And in this video, I want to talk about what happens to your body during a 5-day fast. Okay, there's a reason why I want to talk about it, because I've had a lot of experience doing prolonged fasting. But before we actually get into that, if you're not familiar with who I am, my name is Tim Ernst. I'm an intermittent keto fasting coach who has personally lost 70 pounds in 7 months, all the way back in 2018. And as the years went by in 2020, as we know what happened there, I gained some weight back. So I decided in 2025, we're going to start this thing over again, and we're going to get back to being in the best shape of my life. So that's what I've done. I've lost about 36 pounds already. We're really close to that 190 goal. I might even shoot for 185. We'll see. And I've also coached hundreds of men from all over the world to do the same thing. Typically, I coach men over 40 to lose at least 40 pounds in 16 weeks. If you want more info on that, I'll go ahead and put a link in the description of this video that'll actually take you to another YouTube video that kind of explains a little bit about what I do and how I could potentially help you, okay? Okay, so with that out of the way, I want to discuss fasting, because intermittent fasting has been a huge part of my diet plan. And I want to explain what actually happens to your body when you fast for 5 days. So I started off January 2nd with a 5-day fast, okay? Now, I've done all kinds of fasting. I've done the 1 meal a days, I've done, the 16-8, the 18-6, the 20 and the 4, which basically is just feeding windows and fasting windows. That's all that is. And I've also even done dry fasting. Okay, dry fasting is extreme. I did a 2-day dry fast where no water, no food, and dropped 12 pounds. Now, I wouldn't recommend to do a dry fast. That's not really, you don't need to do that to lose weight. I mean, dry fasting is more for people who are dealing with diseases such as cancer and stuff, and you want to shrink those tumors. Man, dry fasting is like a miracle, okay? But as far as longevity, weight loss and stuff, doing periods of intermittent fasting is really all you need. The main thing is get your food right. Stop eating all the processed crap and sugar and stuff. Eat whole foods, eat protein, fats, veggies, and just keep those carbs and sugars low for a period of time, so you can actually, until you get to your goal and you're satisfied with your leanness, okay? I've also done 72-hour fasts. I think there was a time when, this was years ago, where I would fast every 72 hours or do a 72-hour fast every single week. I would fast from Thursday all the way to Sunday. And I probably did this for 3 or 4 months. Very hard to do. And I did it on the most inconvenient days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I mean, during the weekend. Who would do such a thing? I'm a bit of an extreme person. And if I'm all in, I'm all in. But if I'm all out, I'm all out. Because I gained weight, during that pandemic, and I was all out. Okay? So let's get into my experience with doing a 5-day fast. Okay? So I would highly recommend that before you attempt any type of fasting, make sure you get a little bit of fasting on your belt. Maybe try some 1 meal a days. Do the standard 18 or the 16-8, which basically you're eating your first meal at 12 and your second meal at 8, which really isn't optimal to eat that late. I would say do more of an 18-6. So you could do like a 12 and a 6 or 11 and a 5. That's much better
than doing that 16-8 that everybody was doing years ago, eating at 12 and 8. 8's too late to eat, okay? Okay, so let's start. I would highly recommend that you not go into a long, prolonged fast until you get fat adapted. So how do you get fat adapted? You're gonna have to pull those sugars and carbs out of your diet, okay? This is a must. The reason why you wanna do that first, get fat adapted for at least 7 to 10 days. And the reason why you wanna do that is because if you go right into a fast, after coming from a diet that's full of carbs and sugars like you've been eating, you know, all week or all year, what's gonna happen is you're gonna be operating on low blood sugars the next day, and you're gonna have a very difficult time to actually not eat, okay? But if you get fat adapted, your body starts to get used to not consuming so much food, so when you go into the fast, it makes it that much easier, okay? So I would recommend do a keto carnivore type diet. Eat normally, don't do any type of fasting, just eat normal. And when you've done that for like a good 7 to 10 days, then you can try doing a prolonged fast. And maybe you start with a 48 hours. Maybe you start with a 72. You know yourself better than I do, okay? So I would start where you feel comfortable and where your body can actually handle, okay? So let's get into what I experienced during a 5-day fast. So on my 5-day fast, the first day is actually pretty easy because I'm so used to omad and doing the 48-hour fast and stuff like that. It was pretty simple, right? Went to bed. By day 2, I still felt pretty good. And I'm never really hungry in the morning, so it didn't really, again, I'm used to it, okay? I've kind of worked myself up to it, okay? Which, by the way, too, I forgot to mention this. During this 5-day fast, I still was strength training. If you can believe it, I was still in the gym working out fasted, okay? So day 2 wasn't so bad. You know, you start to get into ketosis by that time. I had like the keto strips where you basically pee on it, and the darker the color, the more in ketosis you are. Now, I will say that's not the best test. The best test really is the blood glucose meter, where you actually test the ketones in your blood. That's actually better than just peeing on a strip, because that strip can be skewed in so many ways. But that's all I had, so I wanted to just track see how dark of a color I could get as far as ketones. And all ketones is, it's just a fuel source, okay? You're either gonna get fuel from carbs and sugars, or you're gonna get fuel from ketones. I prefer to get my fuel from ketones because it's more of an all-day sustained energy as opposed to doing you know, carbs and sugars where you're having those dips and crashes throughout the day, okay, if that makes sense. So anyway, again, ketones is just a fuel source. So I did that. So on day number 2, I was feeling pretty good. I was getting into ketosis. I was monitoring my ketones by peeing on those keto strips. Felt okay. Usually by the 3rd day, you're starting to get a little hungry, okay? But here's the best part about the 3rd day. It's kind of a strange thing. You'll notice you're more hungry, but if you can get past that 3rd day, the fasting actually begins to get easier. It's a weird thing. You think you'd be starving by the 4th day, the 5th day. Your body actually starts getting used to not having the food, okay? Now, during this time, it's very critical that you get electrolytes, okay? I was drinking these drinks called LMNT, Element, something like that. Has a lot of sodium, and is just, if you're starting to feel hunger, sometimes all you need is the salt. Now, this has salt, potassium, magnesium in these drinks, and that will dramatically keep the hunger at bay while you're fasting. So I would highly recommend that you get some electrolytes in there, because what can happen is if you're just doing a strict water fast with no electrolytes, you're gonna end up flushing out all those electrolytes, and you're gonna feel like crap. You're not gonna have any energy, and you're gonna be lethargic. Your gym workouts are gonna suffer, so it's very vital that you get some form of electrolytes, okay? So by day 3, you just gotta get over the hump. That's kind of the point where people are ready to give up, but if they just can stick it out on that 3rd day, they'll find that the fasting actually gets easier. So when I did my 5-day fast this year, I dropped 15 pounds right out the gate, okay? I think when I did my 7-day fast, I probably lost the same amount, but I was a little bit leaner. And that's another thing you got to keep in mind, is that the leaner you are, the less weight you're going to lose. But if you start a prolonged fast and you're like, you know, 250, 300, 400 pounds, you could drop like 20 pounds in that 5 days, because the heavier you are, the more weight you're initially going to lose. And actually, what I should have stated before is that intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting is really great for those who are very obese. You got to think about your belly fat, okay? All belly fat is stored energy. That's all it is, right? But if you keep consuming food and consuming food, you never allow your own body to surrender its own body fat, okay? You got to give your body a reason to surrender body fat. So when you take food out of the diet, your body's going to tap into the actual body fat, your belly fat, for energy. Therefore, you'll begin to start losing that body fat. Does that make sense? So you don't ever want to, you have to look at your belly fat as like meals that are tied around your waistline, ready to be consumed, okay? That's why I love fasting, because you can use your own body fat for actual energy and fuel. That's what it's there for. So if you have excess body fat, you have a lot of energy, okay? The other thing you experience on these prolonged fasts is what's called autophagy. You may have heard of that. Now, there are other forms or other ways to create autophagy in the body. Fasting is a very quick way. And what happens with autophagy is kind of like your body's own recycling program. It's going to basically, we all have these old damaged protein cells floating around in our body. So what fasting does is that your body creates these new protein cells that literally eat the old protein cells. So it's like your body's own recycling program, which is pretty cool. And, if you have a family history of tumors and things like that, fasting can really help shrink those tumors, because tumors feed off of sugar. This is why I like keto and carnivore diets as well, because when you pull back on those sugars, you're not going to get as many diseases, okay? Sugar feeds disease, all right? So like I said, I do 2 of these a year. I may not do a 5-day fast in June, because what's the point? If I'm already at my goal, I'm only if I get to 190, it's 6 pounds away. 185, I've only got 11 pounds to lose. Why would I need to do a 5-day fast in June? If anything, I might do a 2 or 3 day, which I'm already kind of doing a 2-day already on the weekends. So maybe in June, I'll just do a 3-day to kind of reset everything, and then we'll go from there. So let me think what else. Okay, another thing, going back to the electrolytes, the other thing that's really important to have electrolytes during your fast is you may experience headaches too. And that's from a lack of electrolytes, okay? So you gotta get those electrolytes in there, so this way you don't have the headaches, and you wanna boost your energy, keep the hunger down, and that's gonna help you to go longer without food, okay? So that essentially has been my experience with doing a 5-day fast. It's not as hard as you think. I mean, look, 5 days are gonna go by whether you do a fast or not, okay? And it really, really works, okay? So if you got any questions about, how to do the fast, and I've kind of given you a rundown as to what you should do during the 5-day fast. But again, make sure you've got some fasting under your belt first. Make sure you get fat adapted, do keto or carnivore for at least 7 to 10 days so your body gets fat adapted, and then try maybe a small fast. I wouldn't recommend just going right into a 5-day, all right? So I like to start off the year that way with a bang. I like to go into the year with no food. I've had no alcohol. I've slipped up from here and there. If you watch my other videos, I've had some chocolate, and I've had some chips and stuff, but I haven't gone overboard. I haven't had pizza or anything really, really bad. So that's what you can experience during a 5-day fast, okay? That's what you're gonna go through. It's very beneficial for those who are really overweight and obese, and you wanna try to get the weight off as quickly as possible. You wanna get deep into ketosis, and you overall just wanna get healthier, okay? So if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. I'll see you next time.